My name's Cheryl Hill. I care for my son who has Lennox-Gastaut syndrome, and I have done since he was 2. He'll be 40 in a few months' time. He was kicked by a horse when he was about 18 months old on the side of the head. They told us at the time half an inch fire up and he would have died on the spot. 6 months later he took his first seizure and we've been dealing with it ever since. And we moved to Inverell when Mark was about 5, sold the property and came up here and got involved in the community and Mark into some school up here and joined a few groups and got a few things going for people with disabilities and have stayed on. Back then it was known as Inverell Disability and Respite, and we employed people to help care for not only the person with the disability but siblings. If you needed to go away somewhere and you needed the other children to be taken care of, a lot of us didn't have family members around. So we got a government grant and sort of set that up and we employed these people and we called them nannies in those days. So great changes have been since then. Then of course as Mark got older and was ready to leave school, there was nowhere for him to go. There was a handful of us got together again and got some people over and applied for funding to get connections started so that they would have somewhere to go once they left school. I was Mark's voice. Mark had nothing and he needed a voice and that was me. I got in there just so that he would have something to fill his days when he left school. He didn't need to be at home with us all the time. There was nothing back then. You know, you were lucky if anybody cared. And it's only through the parents and the people, that handful of people in a community that cared, that we got things moving and got some services.
NDIS?
Right.
Just tell us what your thoughts on it.
As I say, I'm not sure that they fully understand how big the problem is and how big disabilities is and where on earth they're going to get all this money to make all these wonderful changes that they say are going to make. And I think they're going to have to sort of sit down and do certainly a lot more consultations with people and find out exactly what their needs are and listen. Listen is the big thing. Most people think they know the answers before they actually come in. You know, they don't really listen to what that family's needs are. And it's okay to roll out something and say, yes, we're going to do all these wonderful things, but that mightn't be what the family wants. You've got to know what those families' needs are, and all our needs are different. For when somebody says to you, what's the big picture? You think, well, the big picture is to survive today. You don't think that big picture is that you've got to survive the rest of your life, you know, and how you're going to do that. It's let's get through today. We'll worry about tomorrow when that comes. How do you think big when you've only ever been able to think small? I probably could see the advantage, but just how do you do it? Yeah, when, you know, it's just never been part of you. So I don't know. It's like people say, think outside the square, and you think, well, hey, but this is where I am. I'm in this little square. How do I think outside that square? Don't be afraid to ask for help, because when you first get that child with the disability, you think that you're its mother, you're responsible, you're going to look after it. And there's nothing worse than when you do hit the crisis point and you have to ask for help. Nobody knows about you because you've never asked before. So you need to ask for help and you need to accept help. Sometimes that accepting help can be a big issue too when you first start. So you've got to realise that you haven't failed, you just need help. And the other piece of advice I give to people is to learn to laugh at it. Otherwise you become twisted and bitter and you don't want to go there. So you learn to laugh at life and what it throws at you. There you go, that's it.